Today's show is sponsored by Indie Film Hustle's Filmmaker Process. We provide filmmakers with professional services to get their films or series funded, finished, and distributed. For more information, go to filmmakerprocess.com. My next question, which is Attack of the Block. How did you come up with this amazing idea? Because you were the writer and the director of this film. And I remember when it came out, it was kind of like, it was like a mini atom bomb going off. People were like talking about it, and it was like, you know, this year's District 9 and all this kind of stuff. How did you come up with that idea? It was just brilliant.
That's kind of you to say. It was based on a bit of personal experience.
Aliens attacked you?
Yeah, an alien invasion that happened to me. No, that was from my imagination. I guess so the story is that I was carjacked outside my house by a gang of kids who looked very much like the kids in the movie. Mm-hmm. And nothing like that had ever happened to me before. I think they were local neighborhood kids, and it felt very, very cinematic. They looked really cool, like ninjas. The other interesting thing was they were clearly scared as I was. And it felt like a piece of role-playing theater. It felt like any other time of any other day, they could have been playing football in the park. You know, I could have been walking through the park. But for this moment, they were playing that role of being the aggressors. I was playing the role of being the victim. And it just made me think about, okay, what would happen if a meteor came down and an alien came out? How would my relationship with them change? How would this skill set that they were using for street robbery, how would that switch up and become a skill set that would actually be a potentially positive set of attributes? So so I thought that was an interesting. And then I was kind of fixated on the character of the kid, the leader, and what would cause basically a child to find themselves in a position where they were doing that, you know, on the street. So it was a comment. And plus, this is a long answer, but my favorite movies are combinations of social realism and fantasy. So I felt that it could be my version of the kind of film that I really liked.
Yeah, and when it came out, I mean, it garnered you a tremendous amount of attention. I'm assuming you became the it girl. You were the beautiful girl that everybody wanted to dance with at that point when that came out. How was it? What was it like? And were you still in England when you were in London when that was still going on? Or did you come over to the States during that time? Did you do the water bottle tour here in LA?
Yeah. Well, weirdly, I've been, you know, I'm no stranger to LA. Like, I've been visiting since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And then I'd actually started the process of writing Ant-Man and finished the process of writing Tintin before Attack the Block came out. So I'd worked with Marvel, Steven Spielberg, and Peter Jackson before Attack the Block.
Not bad.
You know, kind of incredible and ridiculous, but that is what happened. So it was all a bit back to front. And yeah, it was weird. Like, I really didn't know what the reaction to the film would be. And it was kind of, what's the right word? Befuddling, mm-hmm. The level of response. Because it was like I'd been waiting for doors to open my whole life. And then it felt as if every door opened at once. And that was, in a way, kind of paralyzing.
Right.
Because you don't know which one to go through. And suddenly all of the shit that you've read, all of your anxieties, paranoias, suspicions, every story about how indie directors, you know, get crushed by big movies.
Right.
Every story about, you know, Hollywood, you know, superficiality or being seduced, and then, you know, all those things are suddenly real. As for someone like you or me who's sort of lived in the dream world and read magazines and interviews with our favorite directors and behind the scenes books and making of books, mm-hmm. to suddenly find yourself with this myriad of opportunities. Should you direct your own things? Should you direct a big franchise? Should you write a franchise? So basically I met everybody, mm-hmm. and took refuge with Edgar writing Ant-Man. I simultaneously wrote a screenplay for Kennedy Marshall based on a book called Snow Crash. So I basically just stepped away.
Really?
You got to remember I was 40. I'm 50, early 50s now. And I'd had a career in TV and I'd had a career in radio. Like I'd been a minor TV personality in the UK. Mm-hmm. So I think if I was 20 something, it probably would have been different. I probably would have been ravenous and would have just taken something by the throat. But I was quite cautious, and really I felt like, well, I don't need to churn out a film every 2 years. I don't need to make, Godzilla versus Obi-Wan Kenobi or whatever's.
By the way, I want to see that movie.
Okay, I'm working on it. I don't know. To be honest, I'm still conflicted about it. It felt very difficult to navigate. So my reaction was to go to ground, kind of thing, and just go back into writing with Edgar. And screenwriting is quite a safe place to be. You can make good money. Mm-hmm. So I did that for a while.
But you were offered. You were offered big studio jobs. I'm sure you were offered, tentpole films, because that's the way the town works. You got to hit like Attack of the Block. All of a sudden, they just give you, here's $100 million, and you're just like, whoa. I've talked to so many directors on the show who've had that moment, that they had the indie hit, and then all the doors open, and they just figure out, a couple of them went down the road and got destroyed. Literally destroyed, and others were like, you know what, we're not ready, we're too young, we've done four music videos and one $2 million movie, we're not going to take on Batman, like literally. But it's really fascinating to hear. Well, first of all, the key element in that story is that you were 40, and there's a big difference between 40 and 20, and only the gray hairs that are on my chin, and I'm assuming somewhere underneath your beautifully shaven face, sir, is that experience that, like, when you get hit with that kind of opportunity. I mean, I would have been destroyed at 20, 25. Can you imagine? You would have probably been. You're just not ready. You're just not ready for that kind of success or opportunity, even sometimes.
Yeah, but some people are good at it.
Some people are,
and really. I'd experienced the production of a big, motion capture movie on Tintin. Mm-hmm. So I understood what happens to screenplays, what the process is, and what the machinery is. And then I thought, well, look, I'm co-writing a big Marvel movie, like already, Ant-Man, with a director who's a genius and is a good friend of mine. So let's just sit here and observe what happens, what the process is. And maybe just because of what happened on Ant-Man, that made me think, okay, well, is this the right way to go? And there were peers of mine who are friends of mine who had hits around the time of Attack the Block, who did go and make blockbusters, and we all know each other. Directors all talk, and they don't share it. But you can call up a friend and say, well, what actually happened? And no one rightly, because they have respect for the industry and the process and the producers, and there's massive amounts of money involved and huge creative risk. So it's not really artists making art, on that level. But at the same time, some of the stories you hear give you pause, and you think, well, actually, I'd rather make fewer films, but those films be exactly what I want them to be, mm-hmm. than be a small part of a big franchise.
So. To watch the rest of this interview, head over to bulletproofscreenwriting.tv.